Yes, the class for this unit is divided into videos. The second one I have already sent it, but I am sending the first one that is not the main topic of the unit, but you need to know this topic in order to understand the second one. So this kind of a remedial video about modal verbs that we may use for speculations for English 5 and for regrets in English 6. So in this case, first of all, we have to understand that in English we have three kinds of verbs. The main verbs are verbs of action. For example, read or sleep. Okay, I have to change this thing thinner. Thank you. We may have auxiliary verbs. Okay, it's abbreviated. Such as that, well, auxiliary verbs carries positives, negatives, and questions. For example, do or does, have or has, and sometimes the verb to be are some of them. But we have a third kind of verbs, the modal verbs. The modal verbs, okay, there's that. The modal verbs change the meaning of the following verb. Maybe they have no meaning per se, but they change the meaning that follows. Some of them are can, may, might, should, etc. We are going to check some of them. I'm going to erase. So, modals for speculations. We are talking about some verbs. Should, for example. Notice how do I pronounce should? No O, no L. Should. Can and could in this case. May and might. We are speculating that an action could have happened or should have happened. Should is surer, you are surer that that could have happened, and may and might is a lower thing that may happen. Some examples. Okay, imagine we were in a presential session and I do not arrive and it's high time for the class to start, so you start to think about where's Sonia. So some of you could say she should be in the cafeteria. Okay, this is highly likely to happen. Why? Because, well, Sonia is always in the cafeteria, or well, I used to be there. But someone says, well, maybe she can be in an accident. Okay, this is not so likely to happen, but it could have happened, so she can't be in an accident. It's not so sure, it's not so likely, but there is a possibility. And finally, someone could say she may be asleep in her car. Puede ser que se haya quedado dormida en su carro. She may be asleep in her car. Okay, this is less likely, This is like less likely, this is sure. Con should es más seguro. Y con may y con might es menos seguro. Son especulaciones. En el caso de should, es un puede estar en la cafetería. En can también, si lo traducimos, puede ser puede. Y en el may también, si lo traducimos, es puede. ¿Cuál es la diferencia? Bueno, que should es más seguro, can es menos seguro y may es aún menos seguro. Esos son los modals para especular. Lo que quiero que entiendan en este caso es el nivel de certeza. Si tú lo metes a un traductor, she should be, she can be, or she may be, entonces te va a dar que es probable. Pero ya debes de entender a este nivel que cambia el significado, el degree of probability. Okay? Of course, we are going to check some other modals. Okay. Hold on. There we have. Okay, modals in general. This word, would. Notice how do I pronounce would. No O, no L. Would. Just W, the U, and the D. When you were in elementary school or primary school, teachers, I'm an elementary school teacher, used to give you an assignment about verbs, and you have to write the verbs in present, past, copretérito and pospretérito. ¿Ok? Entonces en copretérito era jugaba, pero en pospretérito le ponías la terminación ia. Jugaría, comería, dormiría. As in English we cannot add something like that, we use would. I would play. Yo jugaría. ¿Cómo se contrae? I'd play. ¿Cómo lo niegas? She wouldn't sleep. Ella no dormiría. Chequen por favor que cuando tienes tercera persona al verbo no le pasa nada. No le agregas ese nada. Nada. Queda tal cual. Y se contrae con would. Es el equivalente al pospretérito. Es jugaría, es un imaginario. Comería, dormiría. Yo asumo que ya lo saben porque esto es de niveles muy básicos. Otro que tenemos de este mismo estilo es should. Ya lo vimos antes, pero aquí hay otro uso de should. Es para dar consejos, que es lo que van a hacer los de inglés 5. Me van a dar un consejo usando should. ¿Qué harían ustedes, no? Should es deberías. Es también con ia, pero es nada más el verbo deber. You should sleep well. He shouldn't drink coffee. No debería de tomar el café. ¿Ok? Es para marcar un deber, pero se usa para marcar un deber de consejo. ¿Deberías de dormir? ¿Deberías de tomar café o no deberías de tomar café? Then, another of this same family is could. Could, notice again the pronunciation. It's can plus would. Okay? It's the same as can plus would. That means podría. O tú podrías, ¿no? You could go. Tú podrías ir. You could go there. Podrías ir. Okay? They couldn't swim. Ellos no podrían nadar. This is for present. Okay? We have reviewed the modal verbs for present. But what about, in this case, English 6, modal verbs in past? Okay? They are formed by the modal plus a present perfect. And how is the present perfect form? Have plus a participle. In this case, we are going to use have for all, for everybody, for all the persons, okay? It doesn't matter if it's she, he, or it. We use have. So let's check. Imaginen que había una fiesta. Y en esa fiesta, de repente, por azares del destino, llegó Brad Pitt. Y dice, y tú no fuiste. ¡En la torre! Debí haber ido. I should have gone to the party. Te estás arrepintiendo. That's a regret. I should have gone to the party. Another, for example, he wouldn't have studied English. She wouldn't have studied English. Right? This case, please check that with he we use have, and we use the past participle. In this case, we do not use has, because we have the would, well, in this case, the wouldn't inside. Another example, another regret. I wouldn't have been a teacher if I had known about COVID and the pandemic thing. I wouldn't have been a teacher. No hubiese sido maestra si hubiese sabido. Okay, in this case is now. We are now using the third conditional. If you want to study more about the third conditional, go to the previous video. Well, not the previous video on the channel, but the previous video on WhatsApp, or the video on my channel about conditionals, to understand what is happening. In this video, we are just explaining about would, should, the modal verbs, and the speculations and the regrets. Thank you, guys. See you around. We cannot see each other well.